Welcome back to another episode of Freshman Focus. I'm Ashley Daly, and today we are just north of Delaware in Radnor, Ohio. We've got Chris Beaver joining us at his home track here. Chris, welcome. You are a face we see quite often on the Freshman Focus.
Thanks.
And as today, we are coming right off of a nice yesterday evening at Oak Grove, aren't we?
Oh yeah, that was a really good day. Endurance won the elimination for the Oak Grove Trotting Derby, and I also won a age sire stake with Chimpanzee Dancer. So really, very good day.
And I was amazing. So I think Chimpanzee Dancer is only four.
Yes.
So he is an aged horse now, but your 3-year-old Endurance went just as fast, basically, as you.
Oh yeah. And that was his first start of the year. Track record. I couldn't ask for any more from him.
So 2025, I don't know if you're aware of this, you did make $2.7 million last year in trainer earnings, so that was a pretty decent year for you. You have not made any less than $2 million in almost a decade.
Yeah, we race a lot of horses. I buy a lot of horses, and it seems like we stay pretty consistent every year.
So how many do you have on property with us here today?
Close to 55, I think.
Is that about where you like your stable?
It's too much at the moment. I just have an awful time finding help, and I do want to say I'm really impressed with, how my help has stepped up this week when we've been so short-handed right now. So.
Tell me a little bit about your winters. You do go down to Florida. Do you take everything with you, or does anything stay here around Delaware? I
keep 12 to 15 here, about half racing, and the other half are two coming 3-year-olds that, I weren't top quality horses last year, and it's not necessarily that I wouldn't take them to Florida, but I need those horses here to keep the help working that stays here.
And I was also going to ask a question just about your track here, and if you don't have anything on it all winter, how you keep up with maintenance.
Well, we put stone on it every fall when because we're racing through the winter. So the track's it's not fast, but it's always pretty good to train on.
It's not quite a half mile, right?
It's a half mile, maybe just a hair short, or it's actually just a hair long of a half mile.
But because you're so close to the county fair, you do utilize Delaware's track a little bit later.
Yeah, if I'm gonna train in the race bike, 210 or better, I'm going to the fairgrounds with the 2-year-olds. I think I've maybe trained in 2.4, 2.5 out here, but that's really you can figure it's about. If you went to the racetrack, you'd go 10 seconds faster.
Now, you are, of course, an Ohio-based trainer, but you aren't solely just an Ohio trainer. You get them all over the place. You do spend quite a lot of time in Kentucky. How do you figure out logistics all year?
Well, we take it as it comes, and the last few weeks I've been driving them down to Oak Grove myself, and I've been paddocking myself. You can't even find people to paddock down there. Everybody's so short-handed right now. So,
why do you think that is?
There's less and less people getting into the business, and they're finding easier jobs and easier ways to make money. I guess you got to love the business, and the people that I have working for me, and they love it, and they're working hard at it. So.
Was there any other option for you besides training horses?
Well, yeah, I was actually going to go to vet school, and I bought my first good horse at the time, and we made about $1 million racing and selling her. So I just stayed with it.
And here you are.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got plenty of horses. You're training, but you do a little bit of driving. But that's never been your career path. I think you really only drive a little bit at the county fairs, don't you?
I drive a little bit everywhere, but it's an extension of my training. That's what I think when a horse isn't quite set up, or they're having trouble making breaks or something like that. That's when I'll drive. I have people that work for me that can drive at the fairs, So if a horse is racing well, everything's set up, then I don't usually drive them.
Once a year, the greatest converge. 12 championship races, over $7 million on the line. History will be made. Legends will rise. In October 2026, Scioto Downs becomes the venue where speed meets destiny. The Breeders' Crown, harness racing's ultimate showdown. It all comes down to the Breeders' Crown.
At Ohio State's Galbraith Equine Center, our veterinary champions are here for your champions 24/7, 365 days a year, providing advanced specialty care for sports horses from all stages and disciplines. Our expert team of boarded surgeons and sports medicine and rehabilitation specialists, together with veterinary cardiologists, internal medicine, and ophthalmologists, make our hospital your best resource for all sports horse performance issues. The Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center's Galbraith Equine Hospital. Call us today at 614-292-6661.
Getting into our 5 Ohio breds today, our first up is a Colt Trotter Commander's Money. This is a ready for money out of Kelsey's Commando, a CR Commando mare. Now, this was a $21,000 purchase out of the Blooded Horse sales, but it looks like it was bred and still currently owned by Midland Acres. Was that a buyback, or you?
Oh, no. I didn't realize. That's just a problem with the paperwork.
Hasn't been transferred yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it should have been, but I'll get on my bookkeeper about that. So,
What can you tell us about this colt? I'm assuming he is still a colt, or has he been gelded?
yeah, he's still a colt, and he's been a really nice horse all along. He's really good gaited, and he does everything I ask of him. So, I didn't see any reason why he shouldn't be one of the 5.
And he comes from a pretty decent family. The dam made over $230,000 just 2 years of racing. His grand dam even made $230,000 in the late 90s. Produced 5 of 7 foals that have made over $100,000. So when you're looking into some of these horses that you're purchasing, and you of course are doing some breeding yourselves, how far back do you go? You're looking at lines.
Well, I'll look at the first 3 generations for sure. And, I want to see like a horse in those first 3 generations that, if possible, you like to see $1 million winner in the first 3 generations. But, I'm obviously most heavily focused on the first dam. Either, they're a sister to something really good, or they've produced well, but you pay more for that too.
For Commander's Money, how's his attitude been? Has he been testy on the track or anything?
No, he's, I said through the winter he's the 2-year-old that reminded me the most of Endurance, because he just kind of had such an easygoing attitude, and he covered the ground really well. Have you had to change much on rigging with him? No, he's been a very easy horse to train. I've trained all my 2-year-olds, or most of them, in Florida between 7 and 10 in the bike before I left, and he was one of them right near the top. So.
Our next colt trotter is Maine's Deal, a Centurion ATM colt out of Lost Symbol, a Yankee Glide mare. Now, you did co-breed and still co-own this horse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a mare that I have with a partner up in Canada, and that mare produced Flemstein, who's a good open trotter for me for a number of years. I was breeding a lot of mares to Centurion ATM because he's a full brother to Triumphant Caviar. He's super fertile, and I believe in the horse. He was a world champion at 2, won the Peter Houghton. So I thought he should produce horses. He produces a better gaited horse than the Triumphants, and I figured that blood would come through. So yeah, I bred a number to the horse. So.
I think this is his first Ohio crop, though,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes. And I've trained, he's had a very small crop in the United States. I've trained 4 of them, and, they've all been 57 or better trotters. They were Kentucky breds, so it's a little harder to make money with them down there, but they should fit well in Ohio.
How do they rank up against maybe the ready for monies or the in ranges that you have?
To be fair, I had 13 of them in the barn, and I had 2 ready for monies, 1 in range, so, they're training just as well, but, I've got numbers on my side with the Centurions right now.
I noticed, I'm not remembering if we saw them on the track this morning, but you like to use a lot of hoods. I noticed out a little bit.
Well, yeah, this is a small track. We're by a road, and the horses bunch up and they get wound up. I like the horses to be relaxed. So not everything will wear a hood, but if they have a tendency to get a little fired up, they'll wear one.
Our next is a filly trotter, Just G. This is another Centurion ATM out of a Holiday Road mare, another one that you co-bred and co-owned. Chris, you've been in, I think your dad maybe was in the breeding game a little bit as well.
He was, yes.
What is, I guess, the push just to keep them home here?
I did it because I have stallions. I had Triumph and Caviar, I Muscle Up the Goal, and I have Centurion now that I'm promoting. And I think I can, if I have decent mares, they aren't expensive mares that I keep, but they're productive families. They were good themselves, or they produce good. So the push for me is that I can maybe raise a foal a little less expensive than I would have to pay for it at the sale, and I can, at the same time promote my stallions, and hopefully get something going there.
This is, Just G is out of a really nice family. So you have trained the mare and also trained multiple siblings. Just G is half a sibling to my pal Sparky out of currently the McCowan barn, but you've got What Up G and Caviar Gold is a half sibling to this one. Yeah,
it's actually more than a half sibling because Centurion's a full brother to Triumph and Caviar. So, I thought the blood should definitely work. Is this a really good horse? I don't know yet, but she's moves like a good horse. She moves like her brother, and she's a little smarter. So,
how is she rigged right now?
Oh, very simple. I don't have hobbles on her yet. I do wear. She does wear a pair of flip-flops up front because the whole family has been a little sore in their knees. And she's no different. So far, she trots real easy.
I noticed, you say it's been a busy day at the farm. You've got some construction out front, and you also have your blacksmith here. What is that working relationship? Like, do you talk to him much about some issues and he comes up? Like, he will problem solve with you, or do you just come in with suggestions?
He says I like to ruin his day because he comes in the morning ready with an idea what he wants to do, and I go in there and he says, "Oh, I don't want to see you because I want to change something," So usually, I'll respond to problems on the racetrack, things that we find out racing the horses. I'll come in and I'll make changes, and he knows exactly what I want when I make the changes, and he's been really good for me because, sometimes we have to make shoes and create shoes to solve the problems, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, but, we work it out.
Our next horse is Norin. This is a colt trotter, another Centurion out of a Trixton mare, Addie Adversity. So this is a Beaver co-bred and owned, but actually alongside Sugar Valley.
Now this is a really, really good family that I've been involved with in the past. Addie Adversity is a half-sister to Allegiant, which I didn't train, but everybody knows who she is. And then I trained like the first 2 or 3 really good horses out of that mare, Beer Budget, and Only Lonely and Shapeshifter. They were all like sire stakes winners up in Canada, and made a lot of money. So this mare is probably her dam, Addie's dam is probably the most productive mare in North America, and that's why I bought this filly with Joe McLeod to breed.
When it comes to maybe her video or confirmation, what turned you on? Even
well, I didn't. I bought her as an age. I bought her after she was already retired. They didn't race her. I bought her as a 4-year-old on gate because I knew the family and wanted to have one out of that mare.
Are there certain characteristics with this foal that you like from her that you're saying?
Yeah, well, he's absolutely gorgeous. This horse, he moves good and he's absolutely gorgeous. So, too early to tell if he'll be a great horse, but he's got the look. I know before we even broke him, everybody thought he was an aged horse. He just looks that mature, that good, you know.
Do you like having bigger colts versus smaller?
To a point, you know. I mean, Endurance is a huge horse, you know. I don't think in Ohio it's at all necessary to have a big horse. It makes it easier for them to have some size.
It sounds like you still break all of your own.
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah.
Our last horse here is a filly trotter, Dublin's Casa. This is a triumphant caviar out of an Uncle Peter mare, Margaret Ann. This was, well, maybe your bookkeeper hasn't been on top of it, but I do have bred and owned by Dublin Valley Farm.
Yeah. She's still got some work to do, yeah, on the registration.
So this is Margaret Ann's first foal, actually.
Yes, and I trained Margaret Ann as well. She wasn't very good for me, but I really liked the family with Triumphant Caviar, and I gave them the breeding to Triumphant Caviar to breed to Margaret Ann. And, you know, I really liked the foal when I saw her.
Bad.
And, you know, this filly is as nice as you could ask a Triumphant to be, just does everything right.
Now, do you like to, when you go into training sets, do you keep your fillies together? Do you like to mix them in with the colts, or does it completely depend?
I mix them right in with the colts. My training sets are usually more determined by, you know, where the horses are at in their training and which groom is taking care of them. You know, so I try to evenly disperse the work through the day with the grooms, you know. So yeah, it'll be colts, fillies, whatever, you know, you pacers, trotters, they all go together. So.
Last year, I think we did feature a pacer actually in your barn on Freshman Focus. This year, we're all trotters. Do you have any pacers in the barn?
I have a Down by the Seaside filly. I have a Perfect Sting colt, and I have a couple 3-year-olds as well racing. So.
What is it about trotters that you just like to keep them in your barn?
Well, it's always been where I can find an advantage. You know, I can figure them out. That gives me an advantage. It's more work intensive, but you know, a lot of people can do well with pacers. So.
And something we noticed this morning is, like I mentioned earlier, you have some construction outside, and you said you were tapping into the city water, and that was pretty deliberate on your side.
Yeah, we've been well for many years, but I get a lot of high liver counts, and my vet's convinced that it's related to the well water. So that's something I've been wanting to do for about a year now, and we found out it was finally coming our way where we could get into the city water. That's happening now, so that should help.
Well, Chris, we wish you the best of luck. We know we'll see plenty of your horses out on the track, so thanks for letting us hang out for the day. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Freshman Focus. We'll see you next time.